Welcome in to your week 3 NFL DFS first look video brought to you by Rolling Insights. I am your host, Ben Hostler, and we are back again for week 3. We are closing in on the end of the first month of the NFL season. We're starting to get to know more about these teams, these players, their roles for the season, and I'm super excited to get into the thick of the season here. Since I'm doing this on Wednesday morning as opposed to Tuesday afternoon, I'll spend a little bit less time on the recap of last week so we can get right in to your first look for the week 3 slate. That being said, I did win once again on FanDuel for our FanDuel crowd out there. So I'm 2-0 in cash games on FanDuel this season. Got a little bit different with my cash team over there this past weekend. Played Drake May along with Puka Nacua, who I've played both weeks on FanDuel and have, received success from that. So 2-0 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I made a critical mistake, though. I fell to 1-1 with a loss in week 2 there. Playing Justin Fields for $500 more than Drake May is just a mistake. And as someone like me that I've made these videos long enough for you guys, I've played cash games on DraftKings.com for long enough. I should know better. It was a egregious mistake that I'm ashamed of, and I will work to make that up for the rest of the season. I don't even care about the monetary part of it. It's just like I've never felt more brain dead than after, about 3:00. So I ended up playing I was debating Justin Fields and Saints defense or Drake May and Rams defense. I typically don't care about defense in cash games. So I ended up trying to convince myself that Justin Fields had a higher floor than Drake May because of his rushing. But that just was simply not baking in the fact that the Jets could be completely terrible and get steamrolled by a good team in the Buffalo Bills, whereas Drake May was playing what I view as potentially the worst defense in the NFL. And honestly, probably one of the worst defenses that we've seen in the last 20 years, that being this Miami Dolphins defense, is that bad. So I made a critical mistake there. I also chose another thing I was debating was James Conner versus Devon Achane. Chose wrong there clearly. So it was a bad week for me on DraftKings in cash games. It was the reverse of week 1. Week 1, I smashed in cash games, was terrible in tournaments. Last week, terrible in cash games, and I was great in tournaments. I had a couple really strong tournament teams on DraftKings. And then if you're tapped into the Rolling Insights kind of community and the bets that I've been giving out, we did have the Romo Dunze full ladder up to 100 yards, had the same game parlay of 50-1, Romo Dunze, Jameson Williams, both to get 100 receiving yards. So it was actually my biggest Sunday in quite some time, but I'm looking to get back on track in the cash game streets on DraftKings this week. With that being said, let's dive in to the week 3 main slate. This week 3 slate, which Sam, who you guys know, has come on streams in the past, pointed out to me on Sunday at about 6:00. Very, very interesting week 3 main slate here. So first, I would say we're still in this period where people might be overreacting to things that have happened through the first 2 weeks or underreacting to potential spots that, maybe we can take advantage of. But it's also a unique slate in that it's 13 games, but all of the good teams offensively are not on this slate. 13 games, but we have no Buffalo Bills and no Miami Dolphins, so we don't have to worry about targeting the Miami Dolphins on this slate. No Bills, no Dolphins, no Chiefs. They play Sunday night. And no Lions or Ravens, who play each other on Monday night. So very, very interesting slate here. On top of that, we're dealing with a ton of quarterback injuries. The quarterback injury bug has hit early in 2025. We have a number of those to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into, I guess, like looking at the games. There's also like really no good totals because those good offensive teams are not on the slate. There's one game with a high total, that being the Cowboys and Bears at 50.5. I think that's the first time we've seen a 50.5 total this season, if I'm remembering correctly. No other game is like above 45. They're all like bunched in this like 41.5 to 44.5. I don't know. Very, very interesting kind of grouping of games here. At the quarterback position, Jaden Daniels sounds like he's not going to play to me this week, but we will see. That one is a true questionable. If he's not able to go, we will get Marcus Mariota, who is $4,000 minimum salary on DraftKings against the Raiders. We also have another $4,000 minimum salary, that being Carson Wentz, because JJ McCarthy is out for the Vikings. So those two, JJ McCarthy, we know is out. Brock Purdy, we know is out. Joe Burrow, we know is out. That's three significant quarterback injuries, and we know they will not be playing this week. And then we have Jaden Daniels, who, in my opinion, is not going to play in this game, but we will see closer to the weekend on that one. So that makes the quarterback position pretty interesting. There's not anyone to spend up on because we don't have Lamar on the slate. We don't have Mahomes on the slate. We don't have Josh Allen on the slate, right? So a lot of the spend up quarterbacks that we would like are not on the slate. The only one that we have would be Jaden Daniels, who potentially won't be playing, and Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts has been good from a fantasy perspective. Good, not great. He has a 24-point game and then a 11.5 point game. And he's gotten there on rushing touchdowns in that first game. I don't even want to say him. The Philadelphia Eagles offense going away from Kellen Moore to Petula or whatever this guy's name is, it has not looked good. It's been very, very bland, very vanilla. They are simply just not throwing the ball down the field. There's very low amounts of play action, very low amounts of motion, and very low amounts of just anything creative. They are not throwing the ball down the field. They are running the ball, and running the ball some more. They're getting it to a short down and distance. They're running a tush push, and they're just marching their way down the field. It's a very boring offense. I can't, say anything about that, but it makes me obviously less interested in playing him in DFS. So I don't really view there as anybody to spend up on this slate. We have this big grouping of guys down here below Hurts, Baker, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, all above 6K. The guy that sticks out to me there would be Justin Herbert. The Los Angeles Chargers are far and away the most pass-heavy team in the NFL right now. They are leading the league in pass rate over expectation. They are completely unlocking Justin Herbert. And it makes me think back to over the summer, if you guys remember the quote of Jim Harbaugh saying he wakes up sweating in the middle of the night, thinking about how he needs to get Justin Herbert an MVP award. The fantasy results, 30.9 DraftKings points in his week 1 game, 19 last week against the Raiders. They got no pushback from the Raiders whatsoever. So, it's not shocking that he, quote unquote, only had 19 points there. But that's the guy that sticks out to me in the 6K range. I know Denver is a tough defense, but they haven't been through 2 weeks. The Denver defense has been getting picked on. So I definitely am interested in Justin Herbert again this week. I don't think I'm going to go there in cash games, but I think he sticks out as the top overall option for me right now at this quarterback position. You also have Baker right there too, who's been good. But I just would lean Herbert, because he's cheaper and they've just been throwing the ball so much. Moving down, though, we have Dak Prescott at 5,900 in the lone 50-point total on the slate. I am assuming he is going to be very popular. You also have Caleb Williams on the opposite side of that game. So that's probably where the majority of the ownership is going to focus, I feel like. Jake Browning would get some more focus with no Burrow if he was cheaper, but he's 5,500. Daniel Jones is the QB2 in fantasy points right now through 2 weeks of the season. He's 5,400 against the Tennessee Titans. I do think, you could take a look at him. He's looked good. Tennessee is a pass funnel defense, but I don't know. He's close enough to Dak that I probably want to get to Dak, but at the same time, Dak does not really have the rushing touchdown equity that I feel like Daniel Jones does. He is second in the league behind Josh Allen in runs inside the 5 after Josh Allen. So we have Daniel Jones, we have Dak, and then we have you also have like Drake May there, who was popular last week, but tougher spot against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we're looking at Dak, Caleb, Daniel Jones, or going down to those 4K guys, that being Mariota or Carson Wentz. I am going to plug in Carson Wentz right now. I may change this throughout the video. I'm may change my thoughts throughout the rest of the week of research, but we've seen these backups come in for Kevin O'Connell offenses before. He has not been scared to just call his same offense. We saw Nick Mullins really got trusted in that role last year, and I think we could see the same thing with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a veteran NFL quarterback that I think is more than capable of running Kevin O'Connell's offense at home against a terrible Cincinnati secondary with Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson at his disposal. So I'm going to put Carson Wentz in the first look lineup. Moving on to the running back position, we just locked in Christian McCaffrey last week. I think we do the same thing again this week. I think we're putting Christian McCaffrey in to start out. He has had this monster workload. That's going to continue as long as George Kittle's out and as long as he can handle it. Mac Jones looked very serviceable last week, which is kind of funny because when you think about it, the rumor has always been that, Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones over Trey Lance in that draft class. Now he ends up with Mac Jones playing for him in the absence of Brock Purdy. But I think we just lock in Christian McCaffrey. Once again, short home favorite here over the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona has a good defense, but volume is going to rule all for me in these cash game formats. There's some other good running back spots here. Bijan Robinson against the Carolina Panthers run defense looks very good. Saquon at 78 against the Rams. Tough matchup, but it's Saquon. Jonathan Taylor's looked fantastic through 2 weeks. Monster fantasy games for Jonathan Taylor. I don't typically like to play him on DraftKings because of the passing game role or lack thereof. He has 3 catches in week 1, 2 in week 2. Now, one of them went for a long touchdown last week, but he doesn't have the passing volume of a Christian McCaffrey or even a Bijan Robinson. So if you're spending up, I'd probably just focus on those guys for their more secure role. Bucky Irving is in a good spot at home against the New York Jets. New York Jets run defense has been terrible. They got completely worked by James Cook last week. I mean, completely worked. So I'm definitely interested in Bucky here against the Jets. Josh Jacobs has a tough matchup. Cleveland's defense has actually been really good. Like, it's insane how stark the difference is between Cleveland's defense and offense. If they had like a remotely league average offense, they'd be a playoff team. Their offense is just so egregiously bad. It's terrible. But it's a tough matchup for him. He has scored in 10 straight games, but probably not a cash game option for me on DraftKings. Kind of the same for all these guys in this mid-tier. Like the upper mid-tier. I don't really like any of these guys for cash game formats. Now, there is one guy that everyone's going to be locking in, and he goes along with our quarterback. That being Jordan Mason with Aaron Jones out. There's not a ton of running back injuries. Again, we've made it 2 weeks. There's not a bunch of running back injuries, except for Aaron Jones, who is going to be out and placed on IR for Minnesota. Jordan Mason is going to operate as the lead back over Xavier Scott. Jordan Mason already had a really nice role throughout the first 2 weeks. Their offense has just struggled. If their offense gets cooking here a little bit against the Bengals, he has really good touchdown equity, I feel like, when they get in the red zone. And he's going to have a nice role. So at 5,400, Jordan Mason is going to get plugged in to the first look lineup. Moving on to wide receiver, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Ladd McConkey, Mike Evans, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Brian Thomas Jr. Man, it's been rough out there for BTJ through the first few weeks of the season. I would say BTJ's body language is at Tyreek Hill levels of bad. I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully it gets better. If you drafted Brian Thomas Jr. at like the 1-2 turn in your fantasy league, you have to just be losing your mind right now. But I think once again, I know it's a tough matchup, but Puka Nacua continues to have the literally just most fantasy friendly role in the NFL. 26 DK points in week 1, 27 in week 2, 11 targets in week 1, 9 in week 2. He chipped in with a 45-yard rushing touchdown last week. This guy's role is insane. There's literally no excuse from DraftKings that Puka Nacua, I don't care what defense he's playing, there's no excuse that he is not the most expensive player on the slate. He has the best fantasy role. So he is going to get plugged in to the lineup once again. This is the advantage of potentially playing a 4K quarterback, is probably being able to afford Nacua and Christian McCaffrey in your lineups. JSN, another heavy volume for him in week 2. 13 targets in week 1, 9 in week 2. 20 DK points in both games. Sam Darnold is laser focused on him. It's a good matchup at home for them against the Saints. I definitely would like to fit him in here if at all possible. Drake London at 6K looks pretty good to me. I noted this on the Sunday stream, I think it was. I talked about how Michael Penix at times has struggled under pressure. And we know that Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings are great at generating pressure. They're great at blitzing, creative blitzes. I thought there was a chance that he could really disrupt Michael Penix in that game. And I think that trickled over to Drake London. Drake London's still going to have a very secure workload. This is a good matchup for him against Carolina. He's only 6K, so I definitely am interested in him. George Pickens in that high total is definitely interesting. Tedero McMillan, monster workload through 2 weeks, 9 and 10 targets. He looks really good. Definitely think you could consider him a cash game option. The San Fran guys, I think you can go right back to Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. Romo Dunze in the high total, and DJ Moore, both of them right in that mid-tier look interesting. Chris Olave has a big workload through 2 weeks. The expected fantasy points for Olave look really good. He hasn't scored a touchdown, so he's hovered around 11 or 12 fantasy points in those first 2 weeks, but you definitely could sell me on him. Keenan Allen at 4,700 looks really good to me as a play. So there's some decent looking value receivers this week on top of like that mid tier, and then obviously the top tier with Chase, Lamb, Jefferson, all looking really good too. I want to come back to receiver after we plug in our tight end and see kind of what we can make happen, and like our defense as well. So at tight end, we have Brock Bowers at the top. Clearly looked hindered by that knee injury to me on Monday night. Maybe he's a little bit healthier this week, but I think he's a GPP only option for me. Same with Trey McBride as well. Those guys are great tournament plays, not probably looking to get to that range in cash games. I hate spending in this 4K tier in cash games. I've talked about that a number of times. I do think Tyler Warren at 4,400 looks pretty good. You could sell me on Tyler Warren in your cash games. Juwan Johnson at 3,900 just had a fantastic role. He scored this past week 2. So he's at 15 DK points in his first 2 games. He's 3,900. Definitely interested there. I think you could go back to Harold Fannin at 3,600. It's still a cheap role for someone that's been very involved in his offense, and that's really all we're looking for at the tight end position. So you could sell me on Harold Fannin or Juwan Johnson. Brenton Strange is fine. Chigakonkwo is fine also. He's been very involved. He's on the field a lot, running a lot of routes for the Tennessee Titans. So that's kind of where I'm looking at tight end for this week. I do think Loveland, not for cash games, but for tournaments moving forward, is going to be a very interesting play. I do expect his role to grow as the season progresses. And if he's not doing anything, his price is going to keep going down. So just something to keep an eye on for your tournament teams moving forward. I'll plug in Harold Fannin again at tight end, but we'll see. I mean, maybe that changes throughout the week, but for right now, I just want the cheapest possible option that I feel comfortable with, and that would be him right now. At defense, we're always looking for a cheap one. I mean, New England, Jacksonville, Washington, the Chargers. Those all look fine. Even like the Rams at 2,400 is fine. Probably not a lot of upside for like sacks, just considering the Eagles are refusing to throw a forward pass at the moment. Even like you go all the way down, even the Browns at 2,200, like they're going to give up points, but the Browns can generate turnovers with how good their pass rush is. So there's some decent cheap defenses. I'll throw in the Patriots for right now, but you know how defense goes. You can kind of do whatever you want there. All right, at receiver coming back here, I think Keenan Allen to me right now really stuck out at that $4,700 price tag. So I want to go ahead and put him in. Like I was talking about, Chargers throwing the ball a ton. Keenan Allen most likely is not going to see heavy Pat Surtain usage, or shadow coverage, I should say. So I like Keenan Allen at 4,700. That leaves us 6,900 per position for a wide receiver and a flex. So immediately I'm interested in JSN at 65. That would give us 73. If we drop down from JSN, though, we could just go JSN, Jonathan Taylor, or Bucky Irving, or we could try and get Bijan and then drop JSN. I want to keep JSN, really just getting a ton of volume in this lineup. So then it comes down to JT versus Bucky. JT on the road against a tough run defense. Bucky at home, I'm going to put him in, but I'm definitely fine with JT. I'm fine with Bucky or getting up to Bijan if you want, but let's put him in. So first look, NFL DFS cash game lineup for week 3, Carson Wentz, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, Puka Nacua, Keenan Allen, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Harold Fanta Jr., Bucky Irving, and the Patriots defense. Thank you guys for tuning into the full video. Make sure you drop a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to the Rolling Insights YouTube channel. Let's see how many subscribers we can run up by the end of football season. Let me know in the comments your favorite early look week 3 NFL DFS play, and I will see you guys on the Sunday morning stream.